SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Here we go. Welcome in on this Tuesday. Opening week of college baseball is here. Mike Bianco released his lineup and pitching rotation earlier today. No surprises really in that, but still, he did that. We will talk about that. Also coming up on Thursday, Trinidad Chambliss' injunction hearing, even though he won't be there, but his representation will be there, and it's a pretty significant day for obvious reasons. So I'm glad you guys are here. Welcome in, and we will talk about all that, and of course, read your comments on this edition of the show. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report wherever you get them and subscribe. And if you like what you hear, leave a rating and a review. And also right here on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and stuff as well. Leave a comment, like all those things. But in your podcast app, don't forget to subscribe there. This edition is brought to you by Logan Smith Shelter Insurance. Anywhere in Mississippi, and I mean anywhere in this state, if you need auto, home, life, or business insurance. So auto, home, life, or business. Award-winning services. He will take care of you anywhere in this state. Give him a call, 601-823-3500, 601-823-3500. Tell him that I sent you. And most importantly, even if you have auto insurance or if you have a life insurance policy or whatever the case may be, give him a call. It's worth a phone call. It's 5 minutes out of your day. You're probably going to like what you hear. And so switch to Logan Smith Shelter Insurance, bringing you tonight's show. So this baseball season kind of snuck up on me. I don't know about you guys. I know there are a lot of seam heads, both in among the people that cover the team and also just among the fan base. You guys love baseball, and I love you for it, because in the content business, this time of year really should die, and it does not die here, especially when basketball is doing what it's doing at Ole Miss. That there's not much to grab onto if baseball didn't exist the way it does here. So I like and appreciate it from that perspective. I will tell you, though, this snuck up on me, and I have not been near as immersed in what has been going on in the lead up to this season with this team as maybe I should have. But blame football. I think that there is still part of me that has football mode going when, you had the deep run in the playoff, obviously. You had the portal being what it was and how active that it was. And then you had the Dabo thing happen. And now you've got the Trinidad fighting with the NCAA, trying to get injunction now with court. There's just been so much football news and football stuff to pay attention to and talk about that it's already the middle of February, and then boom, that just kind of snuck up on me. And so I haven't immersed myself into this team the way I would have in years past. It's just football has dominated the conversation, which obviously is a good thing. So with that being said, here is the rotation and the lineup that Mike Bianco revealed today. No surprises on it, but nonetheless, it is here. Hunter Elliott going to start on Fridays. That's an obvious one. Him being back for this Ole Miss team is incredible. When you get to start a weekend with what Hunter Elliott brings every single weekend, Mike Bianco actually today in his press conference, it's worth listening to. There was a lot of meat on the bone there at his press conference today, I think. But one thing in particular that's becoming kind of a theme in college sports, you saw it especially in football with the national champion in Indiana, a veteran team, age being something that coaches are pointing to and wanting as they're building their rosters. They're going to start looking more towards age as well, because look at what a veteran team can do on the football field and so on and so forth. So he made reference to that today, that you've got a lot of guys that are older. It's more of a veteran team. And even though they haven't played all of these games necessarily at Ole Miss, but when you look at one of the outfield additions in the portal, Basetto, we'll get to that in a second, He has 58 starts in the ACC under his belt. I mean, that's significant. So Hunter Elliott, obviously the crown jewel from that perspective, and you guys know what he's capable of. Cade Townsend will start on Saturday, so they're going left, right, and left with Will Libbert on Sunday. Again, no surprises here in that rotation. A lot of talk today from Bianco. He seems very pleased with what they've got in their pitching staff right now, both with starters and guys coming out of the pen. This is just year 2 with a pitching coach and Joel Mangrum. So that is an encouraging sign to hear from the head coach. Sorry, having my computer's freezing here a little bit. Okay, we're good. Are we good? We're good. So yeah, it is just year 2. So hearing that already from Bianco with how much improvement that they've made is impressive. So you've got that. Townsend Bianco was asked about the end of the season for him and how much that carried over into the fall. And again, Bianco seems very confident in him. Will Libbert's an interesting prospect, I think, because if you look at just the raw stats at Missouri, not impressive. But if you look at the 2 starts he made in May and who he made them against, how good he was then, and then apparently there's an element of got him out of there and got him into a real program, and he has blossomed into the player that they thought he was when they evaluated him. So apparently there's been a lot of growth there as well. Anyway, all right. And then his starting lineup, at least for game 1 this weekend, not batting order, although he did, I think he straight up said that Dom Decker is going to be the leadoff man, but still did not reveal a batting order. But Foley's going to catch, no surprise. Will Furness going to play first, no surprise. Judd Utermark going to play third, no surprise. Those guys could very easily hit 70 home runs. I say easily, that's a difficult task, but there's a chance that those guys are combining for 70 home runs this year. The strikeout rate's got to go down a little bit, but that's what they're going to be. They're going to be high strikeout, also high home run number type guys. The aforementioned Dom Decker going to play second. Probably my favorite portal pickup in this class, simply because it's if you can't beat him, convince him to join you type thing. With him being at Murray State and being as good as he was. Bianco, interestingly enough, said, he's not like he lead at anything, but he's really good at everything. So apparently that's the kind of player he is. Like, he's not going to, hit 500, and he's not the biggest and the strongest and the fastest, but he's just going to do everything well, is the way that his head coach categorized him today. Braden Randall, at least for now, won the job at shortstop. That's also not particularly surprising. I know there's been some talk about Pano. Bianco mentioned him and said he's been terrific. That's his word. Terrific going into the season, and also said that he could play third or second or short or in the outfield as well. So, I mean, just kind of like a utility man sub, I guess, is going to be his role this year. But it is that is an interesting situation unfolding there. When you have 9 errors, I mean, he fielded 850 last year. You've got to take a massive step forward if you're going to work your way into this lineup, and probably would have been the second baseman, but they were able to land Decker. But either way, that is somebody that was really highly thought of and just has not worked out for whatever reason. And there's still time. He's a true sophomore, but we were asked about that on the radio show today, and I gave a really poor answer. I was like, I mean, somebody asked if he was a bust, and I said, well, he's a true sophomore. Hasn't played a game in his true sophomore season yet. I don't think it's fair to call him a bust, but yes, I did not expect for him to not have a starting job on Friday, week 1 in year 2. But anyway, the aforementioned Becerra is going to play one of the corner outfields, as will Daniel Pacella. Becerra, the guy that started at Clemson, actually is from my hometown in upstate South Carolina and went to what was a rival high school of mine. So close, by the way, where he went to high school and where I went to high school, so close together that the entrance of my neighborhood, obviously my neighborhood went to where I went to high school. There was a neighborhood literally across the street. Like the entrances shared the street across from each other, and the neighborhood across from my street went to his high school. That's how close he grew up to where I grew up, and he'll play one of the corners. And then Pachella is the guy that was the two-time first team all Missouri Valley Conference at Illinois State, and then Federico in center with Reuter going to be the DH. I don't know much. I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole lot about this team. I'm going to learn as you guys learn. I'm going to watch them with you guys. I did not go to any fall scrimmages. So we're going to learn together on this one. I do think that there's a lot of potential here, a lot of veteran guys, a lot of home run hitters. The pitching staff looks good. I am still terrified about their ability to field their positions and play good defense. That was what killed them in the regional last year. I mean, a lot went wrong. Pitching wasn't great, things like that. But what really killed them was how pathetic they were defensively in each of the last 2 years. They've been awful. I mean, really, since they won the national championship, they've been a pretty poor defensive baseball team. But that is what cost them in the regional, was they couldn't field. And so that has got to get better if they're going to start doing things beyond just getting to a regional and not getting bounced by their 4 seed. So interesting stuff there, I suppose, although no real surprises in that lineup. The thing that I'm most focused on this week, and that's most interesting to me, is this Trinidad trial and what's going to happen here. And I'm not a lawyer. I've talked to a handful of some old friends that went to law school and became lawyers. They've tried to kind of help me form opinions on this. I do think it's really interesting what has unfolded over the weekend, where Tom Mars and whoever's been helping him with this, William Liston or whoever's been helping, they've started to uncover references to a medical red shirt while Trinidad was at Ferris State. And, you know, why is what an announcer says valuable? Why is what the Detroit newspaper says valuable? I mean, I guess it depends on your interpretation. You can be cynical, and I typically am, and say, well, you know, announcers don't know anything anyway. Just kind of toss it aside. But what the NCAA has been arguing is that the medical thing is not made up, but kind of made up. And essentially, they have been arguing that they've only tried and talked about a medical red shirt after he got to Ole Miss and after he got good, and now once another year. And that was the medical red shirt wasn't a thing until now. That they don't have any documentation. It was never talked about. He actually didn't play just because he wasn't good. And that's all the NCAA's argued. That's all they've said. But as you guys know, the reporting threshold for Division II and Division I were different anyway. The way that they record these things for medical redshirting is different to begin with. But when you have a broadcast of his national championship game talking about, hey, he medical redshirted in 22, those guys don't make that stuff up. They have meetings with coaches and say, I said this on Twitter, it's kind of a narrative buster, because the broadcasters don't pull that out of nowhere. Somebody at Ferris State told them that he's going to medical redshirt for 2022. Told them that. They didn't make that up. They didn't pull that out of thin air. That was something that was communicated to them. Same thing with these newspaper articles. That was clearly something that was communicated to the reporters, that the talking point around Trinidad Chambliss was, after the 2024 season, he had 2 years left, and in 2022, he medically redshirted. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge, so I don't know how that comes across in court. I do know that when you are trying to argue that the medical redshirt was not a thing until he got to Ole Miss, you now have a lot of things that you can point to and say, actually, that's not true. You already have a physician saying that, yes, he had medical issues that prevented him from playing, and the NCAA admitted that they just threw that out. But you have that already. You have his former coach saying that as well. And now you've got documentation that the medical redshirt thing was a thing long before he transferred and long before he went to Ole Miss and started games and has been going through this process. So that throws a wrench into the NCAA's narrative of that was never a thing. It was never discussed. They're only talking about it now because he's good now, and Ole Miss is trying to get him another year. Ferris State never documented anything because he wasn't actually sick. Well, you have multiple different angles, multiple different levels of documentation showing that before he transferred, the expectation was medical redshirt. That, I think, I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer. I think that matters, and I think that's important. It certainly will be used against the NCAA on Thursday, and it most certainly demonstrates, especially when you pair all of that with the way the NCAA has argued this publicly. One of my buddies keeps telling me about bad faith, that that matters more here than you think it would. I don't know, but that's what he said. He's brought up the phrase bad faith to me a few times, that this can help Mars and Liston demonstrate that the NCAA not only selectively enforced an existing rule, because they're not asking to establish precedent, they're asking to the NCAA to consistently enforce their rules. But it also can be proof that they've acted in bad faith. We'll see. I don't know. But I'm very fascinated with this. I don't think we're going to get an answer on Thursday. It might take a few days, but we shall see. Podcast brought to you in part by Priority One Bank, to make you their priority every day. Online banking platforms, awesome. Local loan servicing and decision making because they care about you. It's in the name. That's what they do. They make you their priority at Priority One Bank. Switch to Priority One Bank and bank with me at Priority One Bank. All right. Streamlabs? No. StreamYard, but it's not the stream's not the problem. It's just I can't get I can't afford like a home setup the way that I would like to have one. So I've got to kind of piece parts together and buy stuff when I can. And the webcam's got to be the next thing. And like the cord, if you just even nudge anything over here, it just disconnects. So is what it is. Almost like the basketball season didn't even happen. It's unfortunate. What they need to start doing, it's kind of funny. Ole Miss and the Pelicans, I think, are in a similar but different situation. Pelicans don't have a first-round pick because they traded it for Derek Queen, and they didn't protect it because the GM, there's a reason he wasn't and hasn't been a GM for a long time. But anyway, they're not making the playoffs. It doesn't matter. But they need to start, this young core needs to start winning games to give the fans something to buy back into, right? Because there is no first-round pick. So Fears and Queen have to play a lot, and they have to be good, to give the people something to buy into, to make trading the pick look like it's worth it. Because if Derek Queen doesn't play or he plays poorly, you're going to wonder, what the hell? But if he keeps improving and starts playing well down the stretch and winning games, you'll forget about trading the pick. You'll be excited about the young core for next year, and so on. Ole Miss is not making the NCAA tournament this year. It's not going to happen. But what Chris Beard and this team need to do is they need to continue to not only just play hard, but they need to find some wins to continue to show the fan base that investing into basketball is worth your time. Last year was awesome, but how quickly you can forget when you lose at how awesome making a Sweet 16 run is. They need to find some wins here. They need to find some wins to keep showing the fan base that, hey, basketball is worth investing in. Yes, this year didn't go well. They missed some evaluations, but it's worth investing in. It was an unfortunate year, but not only do you have the right coach, but the program is in fine shape. Got to hit the portal the right way this time around. Patton Pinkins with an offseason to develop is going to be really helpful and give people something to buy back into despite having a disappointing season. So I think the parallels are pretty good there. Dog's having a bad dream. Hey, sweetie. Hey. Did you hear her back there? For the crowd at the men's basketball game will be very light tomorrow. Do hope the women get good crowds for the next 2 weeks because they've earned it and have some big matchups. Yeah, I mean it'll be really small tomorrow, and frankly they've earned it. I don't mean to be callous, but it is what it is. When you don't play well, when you don't win, you don't deserve big crowds. And especially now that you're professionals, people are going to vote with their wallets, man. They don't feel like you have earned their butts in a seat. So it is what it is. Dom Decker's going to be a beast. Yeah, he was. We have a few game sample size of what he's capable of in that stadium. Yes, I certainly can run through the baseball schedule for you quickly. Why not? Give me just a second here. I'll pull it up for you. The SEC schedule is brutal, by the way. The only unranked team that they face this season is Alabama, and it's on the road. And Alabama's probably going to be pretty darn good, too. So, yeah, the schedule is absolutely brutal. Open with Nevada, then host Arkansas State on Tuesday, and Jackson State on Wednesday before they host Missouri State, and then SEMO in the midweek. And then they go to Houston. So this week 3, Baylor, Ohio State, and Coastal Carolina. That Sunday game should be a lot of fun. That's a really, really, really good Coastal team picked to win the good Sun Belt over Southern Miss, who's going to be pretty darn good again also. So that's that'll be a fun one. Then they host Memphis and North Alabama before Evansville. That is the final non-conference series before conference play. They go to Hattiesburg on Tuesday before they go to Texas. Austin Peay in the midweek before they host Kentucky. Memphis in the midweek before they host Mississippi State. Little Rock in the midweek before they go to Gainesville. Alcorn in the midweek before they host LSU. Southern Miss in Pearl before they go to Tennessee. Murray State in Oxford on Tuesday before they host Georgia. That is double-decker weekend, so the 24th through the 26th. Mississippi State in Pearl in the midweek before they go to Fayetteville. Texas A&M after that with no midweek game in Oxford. UT Martin in Oxford before they go to Tuscaloosa, and that is their schedule this year. With what happened with football, everything else flew under the radar for better or worse. Yeah. Kind of crazy. Elliott has not just this year, but next season if he wants it too. Yeah, I would have a feeling that the extra year is more for leverage than anything else, but I mean, who knows? I could be very wrong there. Do you think the NCAA will actually end up trying to work with conference leaders, or are they just going to keep begging Congress until the breakaway happens? Oh, man. I mean, if you've listened to me long enough on the radio show or here, I mean, I've been talking about this for years. I don't think the NCAA is going to operate in conjunction with the conferences well. I don't think anybody involved is a good enough leader to make these things happen as a group. So they're just going to flounder and keep begging for Congress until nothing happens and they have no choice, I suppose. I've been talking about it for years. The constant, persistent begging Congress to help is just maddening, but oh well. Don't have the 1 through 5 they had in 22, but think they got a fine team. Pitching might be better than 2022. We will see. Ooh, that was a really good pitching staff by the end there. Took them a while to put that together, though. Trust Mike Bianco to put a good, albeit sometimes frustrating, product on the field. Last year was a step back in the right direction, although the regional left a really bad taste in your mouth. Yes, and it especially in the field. My God, just and it wasn't just poor fielding, right? It was simple baseball things like not hitting cutoff mans, giving a runner an extra base, and then that runner scores on a base hit, literally a batter later, those kind of things. Not knowing how to field bunts and that leading to runs. It was pathetic in that regional last year, and that's got to change. What are the general expectations going to be? Make a regional top 16 host? I mean, expectations versus reality are two different things. The schedule's brutal. You're never going to host every year. I do think that it's fair to expect a host every year. What I mean by that is going into the season saying, yeah, this team should be able to compete for a hosting site. Not they literally should host every year, and if they don't, the coach is a failure and he should be shot to the moon. But this is sneaky kind of a pressure year because for 3 years since the national championship, Ole Miss has not won a regional. They didn't make the postseason in the 2 years, and then they host, which was a good season, but then a 4 seed bounced them in their home regional. So that they have spent the Supers at home in the 3 years following the national championship. And if I'd have told you that the day they won, that, hey, the next 3 years, they're going to go to one regional, they're not going to get out of it, what would your reaction have been? Oh my God, fire him, So there's some pressure on Mike Bianco this year to do more than just get to a regional. I don't know what happens if that's all he does again. Most excited you've been about baseball in a few years. This team has a really high ceiling. Really high ceiling. Quick question: with college baseball starting soon, it made you think about our friends in Hattiesburg in the event the SEC splits away from the NCAA. What do you see happening to baseball? That's a good question. Schools like Southern Miss Coastal or Dallas Baptist, could you see a scenario where the Sun Belt or ACC schools like Wake Forest, who won't make the realignment cut, join the SEC just for baseball? Man, that is a deep hypothetical. I think a breakaway is coming. I don't think it'll be for all sports, though. I think it's just football, men's basketball, and the rest will operate as is, if I had to guess. I like it, though. Assume Arkansas, LSU, Texas, etc. will be really good. On a side note, does Mississippi State have an Omaha or bust team? Feels like there could be some quiet pressure on them to carry their athletic program. It's not quiet pressure. It's loud pressure. Yeah, if they don't make a deep run in baseball, it's just going to they spend a whole lot of money on this baseball team. I don't know if Omaha or bust is ever fair, but even if they get out of a regional, if they go 2-Q in a super, people are not, they're going to, I don't know if that will be accepted by most people. I really don't. If Trinidad somehow loses on Thursday, you'd be shocked beyond belief. I believe we could be looking at a breakaway coming sometime down the line. Yes, I agree. I think it'll be just the two. Do you think the Alabama basketball player's ruling can calm things down for the time being? Trinidad isn't in the same realm as his ruling, so I don't see anything leading to the end of the NCAA yet. Now, you're exactly right. Aguilar is petitioning for an extra year under a new precedent that the NCAA established with Pavia. Trinidad is trying to get a medical redshirt, which is something that the NCAA has already had. The Bediako thing would have been precedent setting and would have changed everything and would have basically created chaos. And I read what the judge said, and I read a story kind of summarizing it to make sure that I was kind of understanding it correctly. And I just don't think there's much that we can draw from that at all when it applies to this case. With Trinidad at quarterback, even the 9 games scheduled, 10-2 should be the record to aim for as an expectation. In that scenario, you could host a playoff game again. I think anything 9 or north of 9 is acceptable. Richard has you nervous now, talk you out of it. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, no, the message boards, I think, took what he was saying completely out of context. What Richard was saying on his bi-monthly appearance on our radio show. What he was saying is that this is not a judge that's just going to hear the arguments and just take his gavel and go tap, 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 hotty toddy, y'all. Trinidad wins and everybody celebrates. Like this is a serious person who takes his job seriously and is not just going to rubber stamp BS for the sake of his rebels. What he was saying is Mars and Liston have got to have their I's dotted and their T's crossed because they're not just getting a ruling rubber stamped because they represent the Ole Miss player. That this is a respected judge that takes his job seriously, that will not sacrifice his integrity for the sake of helping Ole Miss win a couple of more football games this year. So it doesn't mean that he suddenly likes the NCAA, like he will like the NCAA's argument or anything. It's just, you've got to win on merit. That's all Richard was saying, is that Ole Miss is going to, at Ole Miss, Liston and Mars are going to have to win on merit. The good thing is they have seemingly a lot of merit because the NCAA, they have a hard time arguing for things in court anyway. They have inconsistently applied their own rules in medical red shirt cases. That there's a lot going for Ole Miss in this, but all he was saying is it's a judge that cares about his integrity when it comes to these rulings and is going to do it the right way. So you better win on merit, which, is how it should be. Way too early, 10-2 right now would be probably a 2-2 split of LSU, Texas, Oklahoma, and Georgia, then win every other game, preferably a win over LSU in that 2-2. No kidding. I think the Texas game is sneaky. Everyone's going to be gearing up for the LSU game or the Georgia game. Texas is sneaky because it's a Manning versus Ole Miss for possibly the last time. Yeah, I hate that game's not in Oxford. I think the SEC kind of failed there. Florida's the trap game of next year's schedule. If it can qualify for that, absolutely it is. It's a horrible spot on the schedule. Horrible. Now, the ice pushed everything back. Do you think we're getting a Pete presser soon? Is part of it getting pushed back because of the Trinidad stuff? No, I think part of it got pushed back because of the Dabo stuff. You had the ice storm, which was probably the main and only factor. But had the ice storm never happened, I kind of feel like they wouldn't have had one anyway. Some schools had a signing day press conference, even though nobody really signed. I don't think they would have had one regardless if the ice storm happens or not, just to not address the Dabo thing. Missouri being at home and looking at Drinkwitz's track record in road games doesn't make it a trap game to you. Oh, I missed the first one. Missouri's the trap game. Yeah, Florida being right after LSU's the one for me. Bianco better win the Kids' Day game this year. No kidding. Yeah. I think Evansville made the tournament last year. Aren't they the ones that took Tennessee down to the wire? Let's see. Yeah, the Purple Aces. Yeah, they were the ones that, wasn't it them? Well, last year they went 17-37, so we might be thinking 2 years ago. Yeah, no, it wasn't last year. Was it 2 years ago where Evansville took Tennessee down to the wire? Hold on. Yeah, they were 39-26 2 years ago. And yeah, they went to the Super Regional. They beat East Carolina and forced a game 3 with Tennessee. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. What would be hilarious if Tennessee baseball dips this season, all their fans bail on the sport. That will immediately happen. It's crazy how many Big Ten teams straight up do not care about baseball. Yeah, UCLA, for example. UCLA, Washington, Oregon. Indiana and Michigan care, but it's not the same. If if they're a 2 seed, they probably went 14 and 16. 15 and 15 would be on the bubble. Maybe they hosted at 16 and 14 last year. Yeah, if they get to 16, they're hosting. 15 might with this schedule. Jeez, this schedule's so brutal. I think they need to win a regional soon, probably within the next 2 years. The schedule gives you some pause on expecting a host, but winning a road regional is tough too. It is, but they would be a 2 seed in that scenario that not a single person would want to see. Did State go into baseball more than any other non-LSU program? Yes. They are invested on par or above everybody in the country. You see the day coming where a football player declares for the draft, does the combine, doesn't get drafted, but signed as a unrestricted free agent or an undrafted free agent, gets cut and then tries to play college football again? Absolutely, yes. 100% that is going to happen in the very near future. Like you've said, the evidence and arguments for Trinidad have serious validity in this case. They have the merit to win the case. It looks like this is being taken very seriously. Absolutely. Losing Trinidad on Thursday would feel like losing the national championship in February. I will say, if you don't get a ruling Thursday, don't freak out. This is, again, one of my lawyer friends expressed to me that the similar sentiment that the message boards were freaking out about what Richard said. This is a judge that's going to take this seriously. It might take days because he's going to want to get every bit of this right and make sure that it's a ruling that is pretty ironclad, that can't be overturned upon appeal and things like that. So, yeah. Question, are Chris Beard and Chris Jans both the basketball coaches in Mississippi in 3 years? I think it's more likely that neither of them are than both of them are in 3 years. I think it's more likely that. So, anyway. Again, I apologize. That's not an in-depth preview of baseball. I have not been immersed with it, but we will cover baseball. I know how important it is. I know how much you guys love this team. We will do it. I promise we will do it. I've just been distracted by the incredibly interesting football program that is currently existing in Oxford right now. But we'll get there. I promise. We will get there. So I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you on Thursday while USA Hockey's going on, by the way. So forgive me if I'm all over the place during that one. But I will see you guys on Thursday. Thank you for making the show a part of your day. I will see you on Thursday.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.